This content is for informational and educational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever by Draper Gorin Blockchain, aka DGB, the presenter, or other associated parties for the content being provided. Please do your own due diligence and seek proper counsel.
Oh, good morning.
There we go.
It's the end of the year. Alon, I think, is out enjoying time with the family and kids. And Nate and I are hard at work and here to wrap up the year and kind of touch base on what's happened and where we might be going from here.
We got Zuda on with us.
Zuda's nicely dressed today.
Yes.
All
first time I got at a desk and nicely dressed.
Yes.
It must mean, is this the new start for 2026? Is this how you're coming out 2026?
That, and I'm feeling well enough that I can do this.
That's good. That's good.
That's good. Yeah. We definitely want everyone to be feeling well and healthy.
If you haven't already visited our website, please do, dgb.vc, and learn a little bit more about us, Tim Draper, Alon Gorin, and David Blesnick, and check out some of the various portfolio companies. It should be an exciting year for a number of our portfolio companies. I'm sure there's a few favorites out there as we go through, and just watching the growth that we've seen over the last year has been pretty amazing. I know that Nate's been working closely with a company called Ivory, one of our portfolio companies. And they're doing some awesome things and about to hit this year running with some great success, right?
Yeah, absolutely. With the appraisal industry, you've had it for the last about 15 years. Everything's been mandated with software and a platform called 2.6. It's a certain system you have to use that's mandated by Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. And now what is happening is at the end of 2026, it'll be a new mandate for a new system called 3.6. So it's officially called UAD 3.6. And then all appraisers will be having to go to that. And so what Ivory's been able to do this year is take 2.6 form and be one of the first to be verified, and also now streamline it with AI, for the 3.6 form. So it's the first of its kind for the industry, taking what normally takes appraisers about an hour and a half, condensing it down to about 15 minutes. So it's awesome for the industry. And also, I'm sure banks and lenders love that too, because it means they can get these appraisers done or appraisal reports done even quicker and be able to issue those loans out. So it's all good for them. Rankin, what do you think with the real estate industry from 2025? I feel like it was a little bit stagnant this year. With stuff kind of going into 2026, the potential for lowering of interest rates. Do you think that, we have a couple companies that are in the mortgage industry, obviously Ivory on the appraisal side. Do you think there's going to be uptake in momentum and just overall real estate kind of traction this year?
Right now, a lot of people have been talking about, we're seeing more sellers than buyers right now. So we're seeing a lot of houses, inventory out there on the market. And so we are seeing some softening of prices, right? Mm-hmm. In regards to the buyers, I think the buyers are hesitant, right? A lot of buyers a few years ago, there's a large portion of people who are sitting on low rates and aren't as quick to sell, or they don't need to. And with the rates having been high over the last couple years, people have been slowing down. And not only that, but we've seen this speculation in real estate kind of slow down. And so we'd be kind of starting to see that flattening in prices, some declines on the higher end. I do think that as the rates start to come down, we'll see buyers start to enter the market again. I'm always looking at real estate.
Always. We are.
You know, and it's always keeping an eye on where the market's at and where things are at. So I think for at least for the mortgage industry, I think there's going to be some benefits as we see rates lower. One, to kind of help with the cost of the burden of just, you know, our national debt. Now, how that affects interest rates on housing, you know, they may not correlate. But I think we will see some softening in the rates on the real estate. The question is, you know, a lot of people still talk about we have inventory problems, right? And the problem is cheap, affordable housing, and a lot of people just can't afford the cost of housing because the wages haven't gone up.
Right.
So there's always going to be a demand for cheap, affordable housing. You know, so. And
I don't know how true this is, but I know it's not non-true. I know it's not.
Okay.
But do you believe that people are selling their properties they're using for Airbnb, and that's causing some of the seller market?
Some people believe, yeah. I've heard that. I've heard that some of the Airbnbs are exiting because it's not becoming as profitable, and so that obviously is adding to the inventory. I also think that we're going to see a large portion of boomers and those who are elderly who are sitting on larger properties, maybe downsizing at some point, or being forced to downsize. You know, if you got a bad hip and you're walking up and down stairs, you're not going to want to do that every day.
Right.
So you're going to be looking for single family homes, you know, that are single story. So, you know, the hardest part is, at least for California, if you're in California, you have that Prop 13, which really fixes your property tax basis. And so it's really hard to want to move if you're in California. I'll admit I face that same issue. I bought my house fairly cheap. And it's always a question. Do we move and double our cost potentially, or do we just stay where we're at? You know, in terms of money, it's just like kind of an easy decision.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're interesting, you know, an interesting time period. I was fascinated this week, and I may have to share that video with you. I was watching a YouTube video this week, and I'm trying to remember who it was with. It was, I think it was Tom Studio. It was an interview with Arthur Laffer.
Okay. Yeah.
Arthur Laffer, he advised Reagan, and he's advising Trump now. And it was really fascinating watching this interview with him because he was really talking about stablecoins.
Yeah, we love that.
And some people probably know my opinion on stablecoins. I think we're heading that direction. And he was very bullish on stablecoins and discussed Tether, and he absolutely knew about Bitcoin and crypto, which was fascinating coming from this economist, right? And he correlated it to the early days between 1776 and 1913 of private banking. And he saw us going back to kind of an era of private banking from what I gathered, from what I understood what he was saying, and that like these stable coins were kind of be an era of private banking. We still had volatility in currency, but we didn't really have as much inflation. We had, you know, there was some intermittent inflation during the time period, right, but it was more or less even through that whole time period. And that is kind of what he saw. He saw, hey, Bitcoin is great. It has a fixed supply with velocity on price. And then we have the counterparty of stable coins that are fixed price, but can be, you know, contracted and expanded based off the money supply, the demand for the money supply. And so he saw them as both kind of working together. So when you hear an economist who's advising government on this, I'm kind of like thinking this is really bullish.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Well, the other thing I was going to say is, you know, when you were talking about real estate and then going into stable coins, you know, on the crypto side, talk about some of the companies that have been doing some stuff on the crypto side this year and some of the things that you've been liking? Do you have a couple that have been standing out that you like, some of the stuff that they're building right now, or just some of their growth? Like, this year going to Digital Assets Week in London, being able to meet up with Ami David from Onera was great, just because, he's been a part of the DGH community now since about 2017, 2018 with Alon. And so being able to see, all their growth over the last 7 years, especially their announcement this year, working with JP Morgan Chase Bank, that was really cool to be at an event like that, where you got to go ahead and see just a lot of the feedback they were getting, right, on some of their protocols they're building, what they're doing on the back end, and going ahead and working with some of these big institutional banks. So I think they kind of stand out to me, but are there any others that stand out to you this year?
In regards to like DeFi that are non related to DGB?
They could be related or non-related.
Yeah, I mean, so Onera is awesome just because of the fact that they're starting to digitize assets. I think that's going to be more on an institutional level. In just regards to DGB, it's interesting to see Lit Financial, or the mortgage company, and and some involvement with them, and Lit USB, which isn't fully out there yet all the way. I mean, it's out. I don't know how it's being implemented or being used yet, but it's just kind of cool to think of the idea that eventually you're going to be able to maybe tap your home equity line of credit in the form of a stable coin or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do believe we kind of go that direction. In terms of just DeFi that is non-company related and not portfolio, I was noticing over the weekend, silver just recently pumped, right? And so there was a company called Ondo, and I was going and looking up silver and going, okay, is anybody doing silver in the DeFi space, right? And so I noticed that Ondo has tokenized the SLV shares in the blockchain space, and so they basically are acting as an ADR kind of American Depository receipt. And so what they're doing is they're holding SLV and then tokenizing it, so that way people can get exposure to silver, or this paper silver, I should say, in the DeFi space. Now, granted, not supposed to be for U.S. people. It's supposed to be for people outside, and there's certain regulatory requirements based off of their website that people can go read. But it's just you can go look at their website and see all this wonderful stuff and how they geo block you. Obviously, if you're in the U.S., you can't get to play everywhere we want, unfortunately.
Right.
But anyways, what I'm impressed about is I do think this is the general direction, right? This is an example that, I'm only bringing this up because silver went crazy this weekend. If people were paying attention to what was happening to Comstock and just the silver demand and the fact that having a hard time delivering on silver.
What I read is silver went down, so that was a bad news source.
Well, it went back down. I mean, it jumped up to 82, or actually might have been higher than that, and it came back down. At least paper silver came back down. Spot silver is still at like 74. So
what's the difference between spot silver and paper silver?
Okay, so paper silver is like paper contracts, right?
Okay.
And we can create derivative over derivative over derivative that are claims on silver, right? Okay. Spot is physical silver. It is actually holding physical ownership. And the problem is often there's more paper out there than there actually is physical silver. And so I forget what company it was, but I heard a rumor this weekend, and it's just a rumor. I mean, I haven't validated it myself, that somebody wanted like 50,000 ounces of silver, but they could only deliver on 5,000 ounces.
Okay.
So when you have these issues of not being able to deliver on physical goods, the price of the physical skyrockets and the paper follows, but the paper is not quite as valuable as the physical because the paper is just a claim. It's correct. Whoever actually holds the asset is the one who gets to determine the price.
That makes sense.
And so we saw this disparity between what paper and spot we're going through. So like if I don't, unfortunately I don't know how accurate this is right here. If we go to Yahoo Finance real quick, Yahoo.com, let's go look up SLV. If I go look up SLV on here, right, it's saying $70, $70.61. But if I go over to, let me go over to one of my, I'm not going to put this up there because I don't want to give free advertising necessarily to somebody that don't want this to be a recommendation or anything. But if I go look on one of the places I go to buy silver, their silver spot price is $78.58. So,
oh, wow. Versus 70. Wow.
Yeah. So there's almost an $8 spread right there.
Yeah.
Showing you that physical is actually costing more than the paper amount.
So this on Yahoo Finance, that 70 is the paper representation versus the one you're talking about.
Yeah, this is iShares Silver Trust. Obviously, none of this is financial advice.
Right.
I mean, you could have bought silver at 36 a year ago or 6 months ago, probably too. which is crazy to think. I mean, if we just go back 6 months ago, we were.
Well, you do bring up an interesting point, and from the aspect of if we're talking about the year in review, I feel like this has been one of the years where there's been a lot of conversation about natural resources globally. In terms of not just some of the semiconductors and stuff like that in Taiwan, but also you've been hearing a lot about obviously gold and silver. You've also been hearing a lot about I think it's cobalt. You've been hearing a lot this year about some of the natural resources in some of the countries in Africa as well too. I feel like, and so I think this has been one of those years where there has been a lot of conversation just around natural resources. I think it was just the other day, one of the countries was selling a majority of its stake to China for one of the natural resources in the country, and some of the mines that they were doing there. And I think this was in Africa. But I feel like this has been one of those years where there's been a little bit more conversation on natural resources. And so it does make sense that we're seeing a lot of uptake with the natural resources and some of the minerals as well.
And it's fascinating because I don't think many people don't realize how important and vital silver is to the technology that we have.
Okay, so explain it a little bit.
It's just because it's used in all of our electronics. Whether you're using a self-driving car, or a Tesla or your phone.
We're using a lot of silver in them. Okay.
Yeah, we're using a lot of silver in them because silver is highly conductive. And so it's used in a lot of our technology. There's probably a big reason why we keep silver prices low because of the commercial use. And so if silver's going up, cost of technology is going to go up.
Cost is going up, right? Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
Not only that, but China did an interesting play this weekend to limit the export. Now, they're not limiting the export, but what they're doing is they're making it so that way if the silver is being exported, it's, they have to approve it first. And so what they're doing is they're really slowing down the export of silver unless you're a major player.
Okay.
And so that's because they know it's a natural resource and they're playing a game and they want to hold it back as much as possible. And so that further puts a squeeze on the silver because a lot of our refining of silver is probably over China. All right.
Right. So doesn't that also drive up demand then too? Or
it doesn't drive. It drives up price. It doesn't drive up demand. What it does is it reduces supply. Right.
Well, then if it's reducing the supply, then it's increasing the price. Then
it's increasing the price. Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is why we're partly seeing it now. It'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. Mm-hmm. You got the spectators thinking we're going to double again.
Right.
I don't know. It's hard to say that. I don't like to play like that. But yeah, it's interesting times for silver. Especially if you bought silver, a year ago
Absolutely.
or 6 months ago.
Mhm.
Rankin.
Yeah.
Your charts from like the 1870s, I believe it is, said that 2026 is going to be a huge year.
Oh yeah, that one. Though there's some charts out there from like a Farmer's Almanac that say that this year is supposed to be a really big year. So it's going to be interesting.
Positive or big year
What?
in terms of a year of positivity in terms of stocks going up and crypto going up, or downside?
Well, here's the thing: we're entering a market, right, where I think we're about to print money.
More
So
money. Great.
whether we're going up in real terms is a different story.
Oh. Do we want to elaborate on that? It's
If-
more a
if-
rhetorical
if
question
If we
because I
print,
know
if we
what you're
print a
saying.
bunch of money and the value of that dollar falls,
Yeah.
then
Mhm.
and even though everything goes up and it looks great, the value actually hasn't adjusted in real terms because the underlying price mechanism that you're pricing everything is actually collapsing.
Yeah.
And so that's not necessarily a positive thing. Realistically, you want real growth.
Right.
And that's what you want to drive your valuations, and having your valuations go up, not necessarily from your money collapsing or losing value for more money printing. I think it's going to be the more money printing solution, which is unfortunate because that creates unneeded inflation. So, and silver going up like it is kind of almost a sign because we've also got gold. Back to my point though, the reason I really like this chart is not, besides the fact that it's silver, it's the fact that this is an example of tokenizing a stock. You can go buy SLV, which is an index which represents silver. You can go buy that on Robinhood or your Schwab account, right? And it's traded just like a stock. What's awesome is that we're starting to see things like this on chain. And so, I think there's a future where all stocks can eventually be on chain. And when that happens, I think that'd be really cool because then there's other things that can be done with those assets, right? Like liquidity pools, which we've talked about in the past. So I just think that we're starting to slowly see the future of where assets are going and being digital. I think the U.S. still needs to figure out all the regulations, and banks need to figure this all out. But I think it's an exciting space as to where things are going.
I think the best regulation is no regulation.
I would agree with you on that one. but unfortunately, there are some people that probably want some regulation.
Yeah, we won't go down the whole rabbit hole for the users on that one. But you got a point there. Rankin, as you were talking about the tokenization, elaborate a little bit on like Thurman Labs and what they're building there. Because we brought on Garrett, who's the CEO of Thurman Labs this year. So, as you were talking about the tokenizing of assets, kind of reminding me of what he's doing with the, CDFIs and loan funds there. Yeah.
Well, so he's essentially taking the idea is taking CDFI loans, right? Tokenizing those loans to be able to provide more liquidity so that they can continue to create new loans, essentially, right?
Yeah. And for the small businesses, I think it's essential for some of these small businesses because CDFIs, correct me if I'm wrong, they're anywhere between about 0 to 50,000, I want to say, or 5,000 to about 50,000 in terms of loan size. Yeah. For small businesses, a business that can range just started up to $300,000-$400,000 in revenue. And so, I think it's essential just being able to help someone get that a small loan in that way so they can either, streamline some of their processes where they can't allocate some of that capital right now on their own. And they also don't maybe have to go to a bank where their interest rate might be, much higher.
And I like it because obviously things would have to be whitelisted and KYC'd and, investors still have to be approved. But what it does is it eventually opens up investors to other alternative investments that can potentially pay a higher yield. Because some of these are more riskier loans just because they're smaller businesses. but they may pay a higher rate.
Yeah.
And if you diversified it across various accounts, then potentially a higher yield. Like
Absolutely. Yeah. I like what he's doing there and providing that software infrastructure.
Yeah.
I think what they've been able to build and their market, right? I think sometimes people try and go so wide in their marketing and that they want to make something for everyone, but they don't look at, one, do they have the capital to go ahead and reach all these people, right? To get it out to there. Or two, they miss the mark in terms of what their solution is. And I feel like providing a solution that has a niche in this way, but also still has a large market cap that's finite in terms of focus is good. So I think in terms of this year, they've done a good job. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. One, helping drive small businesses and loans in that area and providing more liquidity is always a benefit to the local.
Absolutely. You want to talk?
No, go for it. What are you saying?
No, go ahead. Oh, you.
No, I was gonna put a plug in. I know that we haven't done a whole lot with this. What's what.ai. For those who might be unemployed and looking for work, because I know there's a lot of people out there right now who are unemployed and looking for work. We still have this as a free software right now for people to utilize AI to build out their resume. So if you haven't tried it, go out and try it. Love your feedback. And for now, I think it's going to stay free until we start seeing some traction and get some feedback on it. But really, it's great to provide to people the opportunity to try to get find work out there. And I think there's a lot of people who are in a time of need and that need work, need to find a job. And so we have the AI tool out there to help you build that. It is built more towards tech. So you realize that, but give it a try and try it out, and give us some feedback.
The other thing too is, as we're talking about, being able to provide help to people that are looking for work and looking to adjust their resumes. Another company to look into is Series.so. They've had a great year this year as one of our portfolio companies. The other thing too about them is, from where they started, we've been working with them since 2024, but where they started this year in just 2025, looking at the year in review, hitting that milestone of raising $3 million in under 2 weeks as 2 college students that are still in school, that was great for them. But along Rankin's point about being able to provide insight and help for people looking for jobs, they're doing a great job connecting different entrepreneurs with people that either looking to get connected with certain skilled positions, looking for work, looking for to collaborate on projects, right? So let's say I have a company and I'm looking for someone that can help me on software development. So then on there, I would text Series, I would text their AI. It's all done through iMessage, and I would say, hey, I'm looking for someone in Los Angeles. Then it would bring up Zuda, and it would connect me with Zuda. And now it would ask if Zuda and I would like to schedule a meeting. And it would schedule, once we both confirm yes, it schedules the meeting between the both of us. And so something like that, I think in this day and age where there's so much social media, I think allows for people to find, new avenues to stay connected, to look for work, look to collaborate. And so I think what they're building there has been great. It's all done through AI and, through understanding keywords and that type of stuff. And so, yeah.
Yeah, they've done a great job of marketing and everything too.
Yeah, they've done a great job of marketing. Yeah, someone wants a crash course on how to market. Just look at what Series has been able to do with Nathaniel and their entire team with Sean as well too. It's been great. Zuda, you've done a lot of stuff with the AI this year. What do you think of this year in terms of 2025 and all the changes from the beginning of the year with AI and all the different platforms and automations we've been seeing to kind of where it's at right now going into 2026?
I mean, 2026, I've said, is the year of autonomy. Kilpatrick, Logan Kilpatrick, I think his name is, over at Google, is he's in charge of like Gemini and such. He's saying it is the year of embodied AI, like robotics. But I think both are true. I think saying it's the year of autonomy is better language, because if you're just saying it's robotics, that's one narrow category. But what we're going to be seeing is agents actually being able to do what they were promised to do last year to some extent.
Yeah.
And we're going to be seeing, well, with the Ethereum protocol, we're going to be seeing agents working with other agents and making trades and such, and buying and selling information. If the Ethereum protocol works well, anyways. And, you know, everything is just looking to be a really not a year anyone's ever seen. It's not going to be a normal year. And this year was somewhat normal.
So I'm going to say something. And I'm really looking forward to some of this because, like, so you know, I'm a big fan of the concentrated liquidity pools and just how liquidity pools work in general in the DeFi space. And it makes me really kind of excited to have agents out there doing a lot of this trading, right? Because what it does is it increases volume and increases the speed at which the market moves. And it was funny because in my years of playing in crypto, right, there was a racing game, and the racing game you could this is like a robotic horse racing game, and you could lease out your horses. The funny thing is, everything in the game was being played by bots, right? And everybody was generating a little bit of revenue based off of bots racing the horses, all right? The moment they turned off the bots, you stopped making revenue. But, you're right. And so we're essentially going to be creating financial bots that are going to generate a whole bunch of traffic and trading volume, which means they're going to generate a bunch of revenue for anybody supplying liquidity.
And if they're going to be generating a whole new form of, well, I guess jobs is one way to put it, because they're going to find the bots that people have set up that have data that they need, that they can buy that data from. Yeah. And so it's just all going to, so you put your data out there, and they're going to go, I need that data, and then they buy it from your agent, and they keep going.
Well, so this brings up, now this is a, what do you call it? This is a DGH company, but this brings up the idea of Lunar Crush, right? And Lunar Crush is one of the DGH portfolio, part of the DGH portfolio. They provide basically social media data, right? And what's going to be huge is the use of social media, right? I was listening to an investor who does stocks and stuff like that, and he says basically what he does now is he watches TikTok for an inside edge to find out what are people talking about that traditional finance hasn't picked up on yet, that he can pick up on, you know, scrolling through an hour at night on TikTok. You know, is an influencer talking about a certain brand of makeup that all of a sudden 1 million people are going to start buying now. You know, he'll buy a long position on that stock, and going through and doing stuff like that. Where, you know, Lunar Crush is basically the engine who is basically extracting data from social media to then, you know, provide an analysis for that. We've been playing with it a little bit with Claude, right? And Claude's integration with Lunar Crush, and you can extract data out of Twitter and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's amazing. Lunar Crush with Claude is fire.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very, very cool what you can build. And so, and when you imagine a world of agentic bots extracting this information, looking for the next edge on the investment because there's a certain trend in social media that's going a certain direction, and that now you can make a trade on that. We're going to start seeing this, I think, happen more and more over the next year. I mean, I'm sure it's already happening. It's just not talked about as much because if somebody's making money on it, they're likely not shouting it from the mountaintops. When they're done making money, they'll sell course.
We're just waiting for it to get standardized for the Ethereum protocol.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's gonna be fascinating to see where all this goes. And that it was the MCP servers for Claude. But it's very cool as to what's going on. Lunar Crush is definitely a very cool portfolio company.
Lunar Crush has a major edge in this in the data game.
Yeah.
Which data is going to be vital, especially with all the AI and then the autonomy and being able to understand different markets, understand different shifts. Yeah, what they're doing has been essential. Go ahead, Rankin. Were you going to talk more about this chart right here?
No, I was just going through and showing Lunar Crush, but I haven't walked in a while. So.
Oh yeah. What they're building, I think, is great. You know, Zuda, you brought up Claude. One of the things I was going to say is, do you guys think that the different AI search engines has differentiated themselves enough this year where there's discrepancy between each one, or do you think they're still pretty similar to each other in terms of you can gotta kind of go to one and they can do the same thing as everyone else?
So the problem that small plug, I'm trying to fix this for 2026, but the problem is they are mostly all working with the same data sets. So no amount of fine tuning and reinforcement learning, human feedback and customizing and curating is going to change the tone a ton. The only one who has a real difference is Claude Anthropic, because they trained on millions of books, and that they literally scanned them in and tore up the books and then put it into their database, which is not a form of data that most people have. So it is very different in the way it can talk.
Claude, I can see that on Claude. I gotta admit, I'm still pretty married, as I mentioned to Zuda, to ChatGPT, just because I've been using it so long. It seems to know me pretty well. I write a lot of music through ChatGPT. A lot of music.
I think that the number one thing that competitors need to be doing is allowing import your data from, say, ChatGPT, because you can export everything from ChatGPT, but you just need to be able to import it. And even if you aren't a competitor, you should still have that feature because people want to bring their stuff over.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense.
That is true. I think one of the things they've done well is start to integrate some of these other application platforms. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the other day, I don't know if it was ChatGPT or Gemini, but one of them just integrated with Adobe, right? Like on Photoshop, where you could now upload the photo. You could go, say you want, to utilize the Photoshop feature on there, and it can go ahead and start to edit some of the photos, right? So I think some of those things have been really good that the platforms have been doing to kind of streamline the utilization, but it still doesn't go ahead and change what you're talking about, Zuda, right? Where Claude, they're going ahead, they're referencing so many books that they've been able to import all the data. So if you can import stuff more, I think it's going to help, these applications like a ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude kind of differentiate, to the type of value and insight that they're giving back. So I also think the other thing too that has helped is you're seeing it with the phones that have tried to have it automatically integrated now, right? Like I think Samsung has it where or Samsung and Google phones have it where their backend is Google, or their interface, if you're going to go ahead and log online, is going to be Google. And so they have it where you can just more talk right away. Same thing with Apple, but a little bit different, So I think that's been one of the things that's helped, streamline how much we're utilizing the different AI applications and getting used to that.
I'm okay with my phone being my phone.
Yeah. Well, there was something not long ago that said that the, I don't know if it was the iPhone 12 or 13, that because of the amount of like radiation from the actual phone like resource itself, right? The infrastructure of the phone, that it was that they had to stop selling it in certain countries because of it, you know. And so like if you think about like by adding in, you know, ChatGPT or a Gemini and utilizing these applications, it only just enhances how much frequency you're getting off of it as well too. So
Right. Yeah. No, that's not good. I've noticed like Sora actually works better on your phone than it does on the desktop.
So you know what I'm really looking forward to is the first, whoever gets it out first, that's been talked about all 2025, is an operating system that adapts to you based on what you're doing and what you're talking about and what you search and what you talk to AIs about. The desktop or the phone would transform to what you actually are doing. So it would be fluid and adaptive to you.
Do you think that's a positive? I think it is a positive. I also think it could be somewhat limiting as well too, right? Maybe there are some things that you don't want it to be fluid to you, and you want it to provide the counter to that, or you want it to give the insight that is not, you know, your opinion or your normal application, right, that you're used to.
Right, like you could spin up a Android copy really quick, and you could add that in, but it's not that simple. It's you got to get it right, and I don't know how they're gonna get it right.
Mm-hmm.
For what?
I agree.
For making an adaptive Android, so it adapts to what you're doing with using AI. I don't know how you can. That isn't my area of expertise on how to make a UE adapt based on your behavior. That's not my area of expertise.
You know, as we're on the AI topic still, and just what this year has been, just in terms of just the advancement of so many different applications. I mean, like your normal native applications, every applications from the aspect of they can be CRM, SaaS platforms, marketing platforms, just for people that aren't understanding what I'm saying. You know, they can be sales platforms. You know, there's been now so much development where all of them are now jumping into the AI game. You know, I want to talk about Calypto a little bit. Oh, go ahead, Rankin.
Well, I was going to say the tools that people are using to build, utilizing AI to build. We had a guest on here, Michaela, is watching us over on Twitter. Michaela's actually been building some stuff herself, which has been pretty cool, and she's shown me some of what she's built using AI, and it's been pretty impressive. You know, I'm also looking forward to the fact that, you know, we're entering a world where we're going to see so much media in terms of just, you know, I'm going to show this real quick. You know, the amount of content we're going to see generated is going to be crazy, right? Like, for example, if I just share this real quick, you know, here's something I made. I think I made this with Sora or something.
Solana is fast and has memes. Ethereum has stablecoin liquidity, security, and is used by institutions. We have real value on our chain. Solana.
So I don't know if you guys remember the old Microsoft and Apple commercials where you had the hip guy, who's the Apple guy, and you had the IBM kind of guy.
Right.
That was my vision for this commercial. Solana being the hip kid, Ethereum being the legitimate institutional person.
What they saw with Sora was what they didn't expect was extremely niche content being made in mass, which was using a lot more compute than expected, and therefore it wasn't becoming trending, and so it wasn't being used a lot, but people were generating it a lot.
No, but there are some of the best animal memes out there in the world on Sora right now. But anyways, I look forward to seeing more of what creativity comes out of this space, right?
The old lady thinking something that's not has been pretty funny. Like the one with the lady thinking the bear is her dog on Sora. That's funny.
Yeah, you know, I think as we're on the thing about tools and discussing it, so many tools have been able to actually reduce the amount of time you spend, right? You think of, I think it was 11 Labs. They do a lot of stuff with like voiceover, right? And so you think about some of these different applications and some of these different tools and how it actually gives you time back, right? You're not sitting there, just think about what you can do with spreadsheets now. A spreadsheet now, you can compare a spreadsheet that has thousands of contacts with another spreadsheet in a matter of minutes, right? 10 minutes, you can have it compared. You can have your new spreadsheet ready to go. Versus before, it might have taken you about an hour, right, to go through an hour and a half. And so you just think about what you can do in terms of time. I think about the same thing in terms of how much more production we're able to have now with it.
I think you were about to touch on Calypto a minute ago too, right?
Yeah. Because Zuda was talking about AI. We've been on the AI topic now for the last 10 minutes. And one of the things I was going to touch on just in terms of this year in review, fits so much conversation just on, where the music industry is going. And one of the companies that we think has done a great job this year in scaling is Calypto. They've been able to, create so many different artists with each of their own albums, their own playlist. They've been able to get playlists on some of the top ones that are familiar with us, whether it's jazz, whether it's pop, right, whether it's more indie. And so they've been able to scale from beginning of this year, just starting out, you think of like 1,000 streams to now they're doing about 300,000 streams on average a month, right? So that's just a great uptake in terms of scaling. And it also just shows where the industry is going, being able to, scale some of these artists, utilizing some of these new tools and some of these platforms through marketing. This is their YouTube channel here.
Yeah, I'll admit, during the holidays, I was streaming and listening to some of their Christmas classics.
There you go. Good.
Is Calypto behind the song that got onto the country Billboard? That's completely AI?
Nope.
No, they're not behind that one.
Ah, darn.
We're trying to play a little bit more quiet.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but we can show. I'll share with sound, so that way people can see. So it's probably never as great through a chat platform like this, but it's pretty chillax music. So if you're working, it's great music. Now they have 184,000 subscribers out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if due to help, I have to jump.
All good.
Okay, great seeing you guys. Have a good New Year's.
Likewise.
Thanks, you too. Happy New Year.
Bye.
But yeah, very cool what they're doing with their channel. Whole bunch of different channels and stuff like that, different genres of music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they're building out a great catalog library of various genres.
Coop, what do you think about with the AI industry and just where things have gone? One of the things we're discussing is the year in review. So we've been on AI, just discussing it the last about 10 minutes. What do you think about from the beginning of the year to now and looking forward to 2026 of just like the changes and the transitions, whether it's music related, obviously you're involved in music, whether it's more the crypto and DeFi space or, just overall with just the AI in terms of how many people are utilizing it now for applications, tools, editing, whatever it is.
I still have first of all, it's good to see everybody. I still have a jaded opinion on it, man. I don't care what the people behind these companies say. I see people are scraping some real talented musicians' ideas. And even if they take an inkling of that scrape, they didn't put the effort in to be able to say, hey, I created that music. They didn't sit in basement stairwells with the homeless guy learning guitar chords. They didn't spend countless hours sleeping outside studio floors. A lot of stuff real musicians really went through. We're not saying y'all not musicians.
Oh, you're cutting in and out.
You're cutting in and out. Yeah, you're cutting in and out. Your mic's not going.
Let me take my headphones off. Let me pause. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think there's some good arguments for that, right? It's lowering the barrier of entry to anybody who wants to play and participate.
Mhm.
I mean, I've created some, I mean, granted, Suno I think creates 2 songs every time you do an album, so there's 1,600. So I've created at least 800 original, songs using Suno. And to think that I've created 800 songs is pretty crazy because there's no way in hell I could do that by myself without utilizing AI these days.
Right.
Now, do I like the music I create? Absolutely. Do I, is my thoughts in the content I'm producing? Yes, even though I'm utilizing AI to help produce a lot of that. It's my ideas that are going into the generation of what's being created.
Yeah.
But did I sit there for 5 years learning to play the guitar so I could play that? No.
Right.
Right. Did I sit there for, a day kind of trying to come up with these lyrics? No, it's just regurgitation of my thoughts using AI to help, expand on those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And then, do the poetry for me.
Yeah, I think there's a lane. I think there's a lane. There was an interview recently with T-Pain, who's a big artist here in the States, and he was talking about, someone had asked him, like, do you feel bad for auto-tuning, and what you've been able to be labeled as for the industry, and he was like, no. He was like, look, I mastered auto-tuning. He's like, it is what it is. He's like, but when I'm on tour, he's like, I sing everything. I don't use the auto-tune. He's like, and so he says, I'm not mad about it. He's like, it's given me a career. He's like, but there's a lot of artists that don't use auto-tuning. And he's like, no discredit to them. He's like, that's great what they do. He's like, but on my stuff that you hear on the albums, there's auto-tuning in there. If you come and see me live in a concert, there's no auto-tuning. You're still hearing me. And so he was saying, like, I don't feel bad for it. He's like, but I also acknowledge there's a lane for some of the people that want to utilize auto-tuning. There's a lane for the people that don't utilize auto-tuning, right? And he was like, I think that differentiation, you have to go ahead and appreciate both avenues in different ways. And I was like, that's a good way of looking at it, because what he was talking about was, because of some of the stuff and success he's had, he's been able to give other people opportunities, right? Whether it's in business, whether it's in music, because of his success. He's like, but that doesn't mean other people don't deserve their success that don't use auto-tune either, Well, so I think it's kind of similar. Go ahead.
God help anybody if I ever throw a concert and I have to sing. They'll wish I was Milli Vanilli, man.
Right. Yeah, no wish it.
It's I enjoy it. I think there's going to be a big thing. We've had ghostwriters, we've had who write songs on behalf of other people, and I think ultimately, even if you use AI, I think it's just like that. It comes down to, can you actually play the music that you've written, right? If you can go write a song by AI and utilize AI as a tool to produce music faster, that's great. But you're still going to have to deliver it out in public if you want to be an artist, right? And the question is, do you have the skills to go out there? Okay, so AI made a guitar solo and wrote a song. Can you actually play it and can you sing it? Right. And I think that's going to be the differentiating factor between these people who are creating AI music versus who are actually making a career out of it, right?
Yeah.
Right now, I'm so far off. My guitar skills are so rusty that, like, there's no way in hell I could, jump on a guitar and play some of the songs I've written using AI. Now, could I maybe someday with enough practice? Hopefully. That won't my voice. Probably not.
Here's where I want to chime in. Can y'all hear me better now?
Yeah, I hear you better.
All right. So, like, I think it definitely levels the playing field, but it's just funny when you see people that just got into the music business come in, and they're like standing next to you like they're the big boy, the big dog, and y'all are the big dogs. Here's the little chihuahua coming up. Yeah, man, I got 1 million followers. My shit went viral. Blah blah blah. I mean, here's the thing with it. AI is great if you're a talented musician because a lot of the music is business. It's business, y'all. It's not a passion industry. If you in the music business, it's a business. So AI will help you track your data metrics, your sales, your customers, You can do future. You can automate royalty rewards programs. You can stake your coin. All these different things. But if you lack that talent, and if you lack that genuine connection with people, you're not going to. I mean, you might be able to have a gimmick, but the real musicians, the musicians that bleed music, we're going to be sitting there looking at you like, homie.
Well, I mean, that's why I have 800 songs and no signed records yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's great.
I think it also
people without any skills can come into the music business now and network, and they can be shit. They can be nothing, right? But the AI will clean them up, and they can get their marketing budget and all of that, and they can literally rub shoulders with people. They just gotta humble themselves and watch their ego when they coming in this music business, because these people that's been here a long time that never made it, that just sitting there looking at you like, damn, how you got $1 million and I've dedicated my whole life to this craft. So it's
and I think that's where the brand still comes into play, right? Like Rankin, I think you were talking about with the ghostwriters. Ghostwriters, right? You have the people that they emphasize their brand, that they do not use ghostwriters. Everything's authentic, right? They're utilizing, their own lyrics that they're writing. It's a part of their brand. It's a part of what they want people to understand about them. Same type of thing, If I think what you're saying, Coop, is spot on. If people don't understand their brand, they're still not going to make it with it, right? Yeah, they might have a niche that they start to go ahead and find some traction, but the brand ultimately is going to matter, right? What is the industry, or what is the message, right? What type of niche are you talking to? Are you talking about? That's going to be able to, help provide that, long-term success that some of these people are looking for, if there's just about the creating of the music. Now, if it's about the back end, like what you were talking about, Coop, your royalties, your marketing, your data, that's another way, right? Like that's a great component that I think it'll allow people to start to communicate with some of these brands and some of these labels on how valuable they are in a positive way, So instead of getting taken advantage of, they'll have a little bit more.
Another area, I don't know if y'all talked on it because I came to this show late today, but AI agents, right? Yeah. And not only that, but the way the AI agents interact with each other. So say you got your AI PR team or your group of AI agents going on all the different whatever bots. You got to use these AI agents wisely, y'all. I mean, people watching this, use your AI agents. I mean, it's literally a person. It's like a robot working for you in the background 24/7 if you program it right.
That's going to advance and grow a lot over the next year, I think.
Yeah. Autonomous AI agents. So keep your eye on that, y'all.
Yeah. What do you think about in terms of 2026, Coop, just overall AI, not just music focus right now? Where you think the industry is going to kind of go looking forward?
I think it's making the world lazy. Y'all need to pick up a book and read, damn it. The kids of the next generation are going to have a hard time, Joe. I mean, they're creative and all of that, but if shit hits the fan, and it will, because shit always hits the fan. They're gonna be like, what is addition? What is how do I carry this circle over this zero or do this division? Like, they're gonna be so reliant on this. They're not gonna understand the root of it. Like, just like with AI music, you hear the chord changes as a musician before it even happens over time, because you heard so much music, especially with jazz, but different genres. I'm a true musician. I walk in a room and not know shit about the song, and I know exactly where it's going because I played so many songs over my lifetime. Same thing with, Anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought, man. It's my
no. You're making a point there that people are going to get so consumed with only relying on the Geminis, the ChatGPTs, right, the Anthropics, you're like Claude, right, that they're not going to be doing the due diligence of either research or understanding like what the root is with some of this stuff. That's a good point. I think it's a fair point. I think that's where people need to still, do the back end research, right? Ask what these sources are, do the research, understanding the root, if certain terms come up, don't just go with the term, right? Ask what is the term, ask what does this mean in this industry? I mean,
is the data accurate too, right?
Yeah. it that accurate? Yeah. Where's the data coming? Right.
We're going to get a
Where's
point
that
where
coming
we're starting to trust AI a lot in our views and opinions. We're really it should be forcing us to ask questions, I think.
Yeah, it's a great point. Rank, anything else on the year in review for this?
I think we're good. Let's just throw the if you haven't already, come visit us at dgb.vc.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us on the show today, and we hope you have a good new year, and we look forward to 2026. It should be a pretty exciting year. I think hopefully it's good for crypto. Even though we're probably technically supposed to be in a bear market, I think it's actually going to be a positive. I mean, as far as my opinion, if Bitcoin continues to trade in the 80,000 range and this is a bear market, I think it's still pretty good. So we'll see. We'll see where it's going.
Web3 gaming is where it's at, y'all. That's where I'm gonna land my plane.
Web3 gaming.
Web3 gaming, just in general. I'm not gonna promote nobody, but
we'll see. We'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing if the major game companies start branching into that space.
I want to see Sandbox. I want to see the metaverse come back. I want to see some.
Really that would be great.
That would be great. Ideas. You got to get these kids involved, man. Roblox, Fortnite, y'all local. You better start talking to these creators over there and these marketing teams and start collaborating. Pudgy Penguins is doing okay. They got a nice game, but
and who knows? I think the Bored Ape Yacht Club just bought the development for their stuff like that. So that could be cool. That could be cool. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. It'll be an interesting year in crypto.
Yeah.
Anyways, everybody, thank you for joining us today, and we will see you again next time in the next year.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace.